let me start with this one right here. There are 27 games left for the Phoenix Suns. Did you know that? Did you know that? Oh, okay, good.
That's one of the questions, right?
Yeah, 27 games left. Where do you start, buddy? Where does your mind go? What do you think of?
Health. The team, I think more so a specific few couple of players really needs this 2 months to kind of gel together. The story I wrote on ArizonaSports.com, that you can read on the front page right now, is based off of the theory, or whatever you want to call it, the presumption from Vegas that right now their title odds paint a picture, and that there are 4 teams that they truly believe have a chance to win a title this year. The Suns are not one of them. The Thunder, Timberwolves, Cavs, Knicks. There's a lot of teams that are really darn good that if we were sitting here and talking about like who could win the championship this year, there are teams that we would name, like the Phoenix Suns. But they don't believe it. And I wonder if there's things I do believe that the Suns have enough that they can improve on over the next 2 months to certify themselves to get back in that tier with the Nuggets, the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Clippers. But for now, they've kind of faded out of the conversation. They were that team in the Clippers spot 2 months ago, and ever since the Clippers rise and the Suns playing the way that they hasn't been enough to justify that. But I think that staying healthy is the main thing because they need to improve as a team. I think that more specifically with Bradley Beal especially, he really needs this time because every time we talk about him starting to look like Bradley Beal again, he gets hurt. And it's bad luck. It is what it is, but at a certain point, it just needs to stop happening. And once he starts looking like Bradley Beal and he's comfortable enough in his role to be the player that he is in certain pockets of the game when they need him to be, that is when they will look like an elite team, in my opinion.
Best case scenario in your mind, how do things play out with Thaddeus Young? Oh, we can play Brad or Thad now on the show. Wolf, look at that.
Oh,
how that worked out.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry,
Brad,
Kellan, back to you.
Not as exciting of a version, no offense to
really
those guys.
No.
I think the best case version is that he completely unlocks them as a small ball team, and I think that the conversation around small ball increases anxiety for some because you're talking about a Western Conference where even teams like the Pelicans and the Clippers still have like Jonas Valanciunas and Ivica Zubac, who are two bigs you need to take seriously. And I think Suns fans have learned more than other fan bases about how those two guys can play well in the postseason because both were pretty darn good against the Suns in the postseason already. But then you're talking about Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, Towns, Gobert. You go down the list. Even in Oklahoma City, yes, Chet Holmgren, I outweigh by 70 pounds. But at the same time, he is someone who has been a force this year in certain ways and is someone who, if you play small against, they can punish to a certain extent. So, again, it increases trepidation, but at the same time, I think the Suns just need to adapt right now to the best version of what their team can be. And I think the trade for Royce O'Neal, the signing of Thaddeus Young, could potentially lead to their best version of themselves being one that embraces small ball more frequently. It's the thing when you talk about small ball. No, I'm not saying bench Yusuf Nurkic and don't play him. I'm saying some nights probably just play him 20. Other nights play him 35 when he's playing great. But that Golden State game, for example, 5 minutes left in that game, like they should have went small. And they need to be able to like flip that switch instantly, and unlocking that over the next 2 months is going to be something important. And to your question on Thad Young, he, in theory, makes that easier. If he is someone who is capable enough defensively, he's got great hands, he's a really good passer, he's a smart player on both ends of the floor, really knows the gaps to fill defensively, but at his age, can he still get to those gaps? At his age, can he still rebound enough and protect the rim enough in the ways that you need him still to do in these small lines? Because if he can do that, then that solves a lot of problems for them.
You know, it's interesting listening to you talk because if you reference Thaddeus Young and Royce O'Neal in regard to the defensive end of the floor, you must think they need to improve on the defensive end of the floor. Is that the biggest improvement as you see it?
They need to get better defensively with what they're trying to do, if that makes sense. There's a lot of situations where they're switching more often than not, and if you're center in this situation, center in quotes, can switch, that helps a lot. And Thad is someone who has been switchable and versatile as a defender for pretty much his entire career. Now, am I saying he can switch and guard De'Aaron Fox in isolation? No, but he can make those transitions a lot easier with him at that spot, and then on offense you get his passing as well. The biggest point of improvement for them, Wolf, has to be fourth quarters, and like we just can't stop talking about it because it's been such a problem for them.
Right.
I looked at the numbers and the story, and their numbers have actually gotten worse if you compare the two stretches. So we got the 14 and 15 stretch, and then post-Christmas we've got 19 and 7. Their offensive rating has actually gone down in the fourth quarter. It's gotten worse. Their defensive rating has gone up. It's gotten worse. Only slightly, but that's comparing to historically bad fourth quarter numbers. So there is no possible way to win a playoff series with the way that they are playing in the fourth quarter right now. So unless we look at this, so that's 29 games and then 26 games, and we've got 27 left. So in these 27, if they're not a top 20 team in the fourth quarter, that's all I'm asking for here, be top 20 in net rating in the fourth quarter. If they're not there, I don't think I'll pick them to win a playoff series because you need to, it's the playoffs. Every game is close. I don't feel like I'm being too simple-minded here, but at the same point, it's the playoffs and it's the fourth quarter of playoff games.
You need to win close games.
Yeah.
The story is how the Suns can certify elite status after the NBA All-Star break by Kellan Olson. Kellan, did you know you wrote this? I'm looking at it right now.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the rest of the regular season, just in terms of standings, they're only 3 games back of Denver. They're 4 games back of the Clippers, 4.5 back of Oklahoma City. So it's not inconceivable they could get into a top 4 spot. How much does that matter to you with this team that they would have home court in the first or even maybe second round?
Not much. I haven't thought about it really that much because they've got so many other things to consider. And I think that the West is so not wide open, but to a point where it's more about matchups. It kind of almost feels more like the NCAA tournament than anything, where it's going to be more matchup based, because I think that there is a path for every team where they could get stifled in the first round because they get that team that is the best matchup for them. And that's typically not how the NBA has been over the years, but I feel that way. So, for example, I think that the Suns are a pretty great matchup for a team like Oklahoma City. I think some people listening who are high on OKC, I picked them to finish 5th in the West coming into the year. I thought they were going to be really darn good. But you look at the experience mismatch there. OKC is just so young, and they just have so little experience to me. So if they draw OKC, I think Minnesota is a pretty darn good matchup for them as well. But then you go down to some of the other teams. I think Dallas, speaks for itself, right? If Dallas was to come around, Denver speaks for itself. But there are some matchups. I'm not worried about the Clippers, personally. Okay. I still kind of remain in that camp. They are a matchup that poses some issues, but I think at the same time, the Suns are going to be far more equipped from a coaching perspective to counter what Ty Lue's been doing with Frank Vogel as opposed to what they had last year.
Kellan, great stuff as always, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.